All right, so I'm doing a video on our beginning chord progressions. So we'll take a look. We're going to be working off of this sheet right here, where we have 3 chord progressions, and at the bottom we have our 3 different strum patterns that we can use. Strum pattern 1, 2, and 3. And then we have our chord chart, where we have our chord diagrams for all these chords. Okay, so the biggest thing to, I think, start with is to get these get the chords memorized. Like, you know, be able to work off the sheet, basically, where you're not using the chord chart that I gave you anymore, and you just know E minor's here, A sus is here, G, C, D, without having to look. That's going to be the key to being able to play these chord changes quickly and smoothly. So once you kind of have them memorized, and I would kind of memorize them, you know, 1 chord progression at a time. The first one, E minor and A sus2, then the second grouping, G, C, and D. We want to memorize those. All right, so let's talk about our strum patterns. So when we first start, we should be using strum pattern 1, which is just the downstrokes on 1, 2, 3, 4. What we can do too is we can add at the end of that last downstroke on beat 4, we can add an upstroke on the end of it, so before the next measure. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and. So I'll do that again. So on that last upstroke, what we're going to do is we're going to release the E minor. So when we play that, we're going to be playing those open strings, and that's where we're going to move to our A sus chord for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and. So we want to make sure that those open strings are happening on the and of 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So on the and of 4 is when we're going to release our fingers. So we strum upwards, do an upstroke, and it's open strings. And it's during that time where we're going to shift our fingers to that A sus2 chord. We're going to apply the same thing when we add in that strum pattern 2, which is an 8th note strum pattern. So for that, we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we're going to still replace that and of 4 with that upstroke where we're just going on those open strings for that chord transition. So here I go for that for that chord progression. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's how we want to practice those changes, and you know, we just want to make sure that all of those beats are happening in the correct spot. Let's see, that chord progression 3. We'll get to that one. That one's a little bit more complicated. Let's see. So that one's gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2, and so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So once again, on that last upstroke on the and of 4, I'm gonna be releasing to change to that next chord, so I can play it on that next downstroke. So and I'm going to apply the same approach to when I get to chord progression 2, where I am, let me see what that is again, G, C, G, D. So I would just be doing the same thing. I could do strum pattern 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. then even strum pattern 3. So that's how we want to approach working on these chords. We really want to take it step by step, memorizing them, working on the chord progression 1, memorizing those 2 chords, doing the strum pattern 1, and not moving on until you get comfortable with that chord transition. Nice and slow. And slow is the key here, because we really, we can't get ahead of ourselves with this. And we just want to make sure we're just keeping that consistent 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Another thing, another hint that I'll give you, even if your fingers aren't switching, the fingers on your left hand aren't switching positions right, keep the rhythm going with your right hand. That's going to be really important to keep that rhythm going. What's going to happen, as long as you're keeping that rhythm going, your left hand or your fretting hand is going to try and keep up to that rhythm and make that chord transition happen sooner than, where you just kind of play and then stop. We don't want that. We want to keep that going, so we just have... Oh, let me mess it up. I didn't catch it on that time, but that's okay. You will eventually catch up to it. So keep that right hand going. And I'm kind of like, you'll make those adjustments. Okay, good luck.